Video games these days are pretty shit. Whether it's because of poor, embarrassing writing, stupid one-dimensional characters, or repetitive brain-rotting gameplay, it's no surprise to see so many people going backwards and returning to old classic games. Among this trend, I'm sure you've seen many videos about people attempting these so-called challenge runs. Challenge runs are nothing new. It's something that lots of people did back in the day to get more replayability out of a game they had already mastered. I remember when I was younger, I tried to beat Castlevania without using any of the sub-weapons. Like all things, something that people once did for fun is now turned into a mindless massacre for trying to farm the most views as possible on YouTube. This is why I've decided to attempt the most important challenge run of our generation. The challenge run to end all challenge runs. I swear, if any of you upload a challenge run video after this, I will personally go into your comment section and call you a fucking nincompoop. Anyways, my ultimate challenge run is, can you beat Mega Man 2 if you have to take a shit every time you defeat an enemy? Well, there's only one way to find out. The rules are simple. If you defeat an enemy, you're not permitted to defeat another enemy until you've, well, defecated. But before we do anything, let's make sure that this run is even possible. According to my 5-second Google search, people on average take 3 shits per day. Now, the average life expectancy in the United States is 77 years. So, from birth to death, let's just say the average person shits 84,315 times. Now, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that there definitely isn't anywhere near that many enemies in Mega Man 2. Now the question isn't if this run is possible, but rather a matter of how long it will take. Now that we know this run is indeed within the realm of possibility, we may begin. Going into this run, I only had one real strategy. I knew I would want to obtain the items number 1, 2, and 3 as soon as possible. These items grant Mega Man all sorts of maneuverability, which will hopefully make getting through these stages much easier. Naturally, I started with Flashman. This stage is piss easy, so I had no trouble at all making it to the boss. With him down, we have the Time Stopper as well as the item number 3. The next morning, I took a shit and headed for the next target, Heatman. Once again, dodging the enemies was no trouble at all, and the hardest part of this stage was actually learning the invisible block pattern here instead of just skipping over it like I always do. With Heatman down, we now have the item number 1, which is not only going to be a huge help across this run, but especially in this next stage. Airman! This was undeniably the hardest stage in this run. If you're familiar with this game at all, you likely know exactly why. The start of the level features some tricky platforming while dodging enemies. Nothing particularly difficult though. Once you've cleared that section, however, you're in for the pummeling of a lifetime. I'm not even going to bother counting how many times I died. This part comes straight from Satan's fiery, steamy asshole. Now, if you haven't played this game before, the idea of this segment is that you need to make it across this bottomless pit by jumping onto the platforms occupied by these guys. While technically I could get through here by killing each guy and taking their respective shits, but that's a total cop-out. I want to try to get through this game as fast as possible, which requires taking as few shits as possible. Yeah, I guess you could say I'm shit-maxing. Eventually, with lots of practice, I was rewarded with a run where I made it through to the other side, where I proceeded to die and receive a game over. A couple tries later and I was able to make it across and reach Airman safely. With this stage defeated, I was rewarded with the item number 2. Next up, Crashman. With all the items at our disposal, this stage is a total cakewalk start to finish. Metal Man. A little patience, the faith of a few, and a little weed is all we need, bro. Alright, next up is Woodman. All seems to start well, until you reach this room. If you aren't familiar with this game, the next 3 rooms contain fire dogs, which all need to be defeated before you can continue to the next room. Using the Time Stopper seems like a good idea, however there isn't enough ammo to get you past all 3 dogs. Now I could just bite the bullet and take one shit for the one dog the Time Stopper can't cover, but instead I've got a better idea. Now, someone found out that if you place an item number 1 like this, it will actually push you up into the ceiling. That's pretty funny, but then someone who had way too much time on their hands found out that if you fire one shot to the right, and then immediately fire another one to the left, it will send you flying out the wall. By some miracle, dying from this point will respawn you in this room, allowing you to bypass fighting all the dogs. From here, it was only a matter of using the time stopper to avoid these monkey things, and I was able to make it safely to Woodman without defeating any enemies in the stage. Bubble Man. No tricks I know of. The only way to do it is to just fucking do it. Quick Man. This stage doesn't have you fighting many enemies to begin with, so avoiding the ones that are here is pretty easy. With Quick Man down, we're on to the Wily stages. Finally, the home stretch. Well, that's what I thought at the time. Wily Stage 1. Again, using the special items here gets you past most enemies in the stage with no issue. After taking down the dragon, I walked away with confidence that soon this run would be over and my shits would not be in vain. Here comes Wily Stage 2. While there is a tricky segment with these screws coming out of the walls, it's another fairly easy stage to complete. Dropping into this boss door, however, I did not know what tedium was about to hit me. This boss fight consists of defeating 13 of these little guys to win. While it may not have been very difficult, the long wait was beginning to wear me down. After a couple excruciating days of excrement, eagerly awaiting the next opportunity when I could shower the toilet with my fecal matter, I was finally able to defeat the boss. Now I'm on to Wily Stage 3. This stage was a well-deserved break after what I'd just been through. Just plow through the stage, beat the boss, easy. Finally, it's Wily Stage 4. This is the last level in the traditional sense. This was a pretty tough level, but certainly not impossible. Those guys in the mechs at the end can be a real pain to get around. I personally used the E-tank after I made it through, so I'd have enough health left over for the boss, which, speaking of, it's time for this boss. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I hardly think this thing can qualify as a boss. I mean, what even are these things? These shields kinda look like Tetris blocks, and I don't know, these things look like sideways snow globes filled with Pepto-Bismol. Once again, each kill requires a shit, so it's yet another slow and tedious fight. Next, please. After this stage is, you guessed it, the famous boss rush stage. Now yes, this will indeed take many shits to clear, 10 to be precise. Now before this point, I've been able to die and use continues without any repercussions. The stakes are a bit higher here. Let's imagine I take out all these bosses, requiring 6 shits. But then, I got a game over against Metal Man. When I select the continue option, I'll have to start from scratch and re-defeat the bosses, making those 6 theoretical shits all in vain. Dying here is out of the question, and I'll really have to give it my all if I want to get through this with as little shits as possible. And because the boss weaknesses trivialized most of these boss fights, I was able to make it through with no issues. Now let's go kick Wily's shit in and end this smelly chapter of my life. If you want me to be entirely honest with you, this was a complete waste of time. And also a complete waste of yours.